I can feel death in this room. A presence. You have killed, and you will kill again.
Cover her face with the mask of Satan. Horror Italiano. Deep red.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of Horror Italiano. I am Joe, my partner in crime, Rick. Rick, are you ready for this? We've been discussing this show, so you ready, my brother?
I'm ready. Brand new show, brand new year. Welcome to 2024. And with that being said, we all cheer for big bottles of beer. Salute, my brother. Let's have a kick-ass year, bro.
We're actually going to be focusing just on Italian horror, going back to the old stuff. For both of us, it's kind of a reintroduction to some movies that we haven't seen in a while. And most of all, looking forward to learning about new movies. Because, I mean, from the ones I've seen, I know there's going to be some more out there that are good. And I can't wait for both of us and you, the viewers, to discover these as we go along. In this episode, we're going to start with Dario Argento. I mean...
The master of the Giallo film, son.
We know what movie we could have started with. It's going to be on here. It is actually going to be on here a little later on for a reason. So we are going to be discussing Deep Red. Came out in 1975. It was directed and written by Dario Argento. It stars David Hemmings as Marcus Daly, Daria Nicolodi as Gianna Brezzi, and Gabriele Levy as Carlo. So this movie opens with a murder that happens on Christmas. So after we fast forward to 20 years later, we're at a conference where Giordani, a psychologist who is also a parapsychologist, I gotta look into that. Helga, who is a psychic, you know, she guesses the one guy with the keys in his pocket, and then gets a flash, basically announces you're gonna kill again. So the killer was sitting in the audience. Just because the killer sat in the audience, that was the catalyst for basically you're gonna kill again. This movie is a whodunit because you are introduced to all these characters and it's done in such a way that you know that these characters are being introduced for a reason. Are they the bad guy that just is now, you know, popping in to fuck with Marcus? That was one of the things I love about the movie. Did you keep trying to guess who it was?
Yeah, I saw this a while ago, and I remember being very invested and intrigued on who the killer actually was. And the whodunit was played to perfection in this film. It also didn't give you like most whodunits. There wasn't a tons of like misdirections, red herrings. There wasn't any of that gimmicky stuff. It was all told through the storytelling in this film. And I was like, man, I'm trying to decide, all right, the psychic was the first kill, obviously, aside from the flashback in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's got something to do with the psychic and what she said. And like you said, you're gonna kill again. So now this psychic put herself on the list. Essentially, we start from there, and Marcus, who's this Paul McCartney looking motherfucker, Ted Ringer
Actually,
from Paul McCartney.
dude, you know who he reminded me a little bit? I don't know which one of the two characters was Starsky and Hutch.
Oh my gosh,
That's
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, that's the blonde one. That's what it reminded me of.
But he's a pianist, and he gets sucked into this whirlpool of fucking intrigue, and he didn't have to keep investigating, but he was so like far down that rabbit hole that he couldn't stop. He witnessed it, and he needed to know what the fuck happened, who killed this woman, because he saw it. There wasn't a lot of suspects, you know, so to speak, in this film.
Out of curiosity, if you did, you did. But if you did not guess it, who did you think was the killer?
That's the problem, bro. I didn't have
Did
anybody
you had-
in my radar.
You really didn't, like, there was nobody that you were really...
Because they wanted you
pinpointed
to
on.
think it was Carlo, but the problem is, and I got this quickly, I'm like, Carlo was
Quickly.
there when the murder happened. And when he looked out the window, Marcus, he sees Carlo there and the killer walking away. So unless they were working together somehow in cahoots, which,
Scream.
yeah.
They were not, though.
Without giving the killer away now, they showed you who the killer was as soon as Marcus goes up into that apartment. Did you notice that?
Yes.
They show the
yes,
killer.
I know.
When
And
it was revealed later, because he sees the killer's face in the mirror, which he keeps thinking is a painting. And later, when they flash back into his thoughts and he's back into that hallway and he sees the mirror, he sees the face. I went back, I rewinded this film, bro. Let me see something. They showed that killer.
it's there.
It's
Oh,
there, bro.
shit.
You're not
Missed it.
focused on that because you're not gonna think they're gonna show you. They're not gonna show you who the killer is right away, but they
Fucking-
did.
Dude, that was brilliant. If you didn't pay attention, you missed it. I mean, so for me, honestly, I thought it was Gianna. Only because you knew that the flashback had something to do with the killer, obviously. I was going on a child witness, obviously, somebody, a parent getting killed.
Yeah.
And then they themselves becoming a killer. You couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl because you only saw legs in the shot. And he had shorts on, if I remember it right.
I saw it as a female when I first saw it.
Right, because he had shorts on. And so when the camera showed up, you only saw legs and shoes, automatically assuming female because she would have a dress on, not that he had on shorts.
Yeah.
So I was going with Gianna, especially when she showed up when he was at the house and she rescued him. I'm like, that's it, it's Gianna. I knew it. Marcus is feeding her all the information.
Oh, good shot.
You know, even though she's a reporter,
She's the red herring then.
she was, because he's talking to her, and conveniently enough, every time they talked,
Yeah.
somebody died.
And a very eccentric character at that. So I would have
Yes.
put it past her to do something like that.
So, and you know, when she arm wrestled him,
She beat him in an arm wrestling match.
well, and the best part is
He
like
kept
she
saying-
3 times. Because she tricked him twice, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
dude, I never thought about the fact that in arm wrestling you just want to say go and then just boom and get the person off guard. Gianna, honestly, especially after he called her to give, and I can't remember the name, but it was the writer of the book that basically talked about that house.
Rigetti. Amanda Rigetti?
Yeah, Rigetti. Amanda. After that, she gets killed, and I'm like, all right, so he figured this out. He called her up, you know, and again, you had the fire that she conveniently showed up, pulled him out of there, and then I'm like, well, she did beat him in arm wrestling, so she does have the strength to be able to do that.
Speaking about Amanda real quick, her death in this film, when she was like, her face was boiled alive essentially in the hot water. I read a while ago that Dario Argento wanted the kills in his film to feel more, not realistic, but kills that the viewer can relate to. Because not everyone can relate to a gunshot, but people can relate to getting burned, for example. So when her face is in that fucking boiling water, that's not boiling, it was hot water, but it was steaming hot water, you know what I'm saying? So that was brutal, man. I felt every inch of that shit.
Oh, I like a hot shower. I'm like, I didn't know that like the water is really hot in Italy.
Oh, no. If you put the if you turn up your bath water on, leave it on all the way hot, yeah, you're gonna get fucked up.
My showers, it's all hot in like an inch. Like I walk out and I'm red. Like I take hot showers. But that looked painful.
Well, I heard in Italy there's no air conditioning, so I wouldn't put it past them for the hot water to be extra scalding.
That's true. When they showed that Carlo was the killer, because I questioned it for a little bit, and I even questioned, I just for a slight minute, but then after the killer walked by, he showed up. There'd be no way for him to have run all the way around, change his clothes, too short of a time for him to pull that kind of move.
It's possible. I probably thought to myself that they were working together when I first saw this film years back. Watching it the second time, you know, knowing the movie already, I was like, yeah, it definitely wasn't this guy, you know.
And then it's revealed to be Carlo's mother. That threw me for a loop. Had I focused and noticed basically that in your
Well, she was
face,
an actress, right? Is that what you're getting at?
well, she was also an actress. It threw me off. Was not expecting it. I thought she was eccentric, so I can buy into it. Obviously, she had some type of mental issues going on because the husband told her to see the doctor, go to the hospital again, and she didn't want to do it.
Right, yeah.
I love the backstory.
And that forced her to kill him, which is like, what kind of reason is that to kill your husband in front of your child at that?
Well, she didn't want to go back to the hospital. I mean, and again, obviously she had some problems. And the reason Carlo had been a drunk all these years is because he's been like taking care of his murdering mother.
He covered up for her too.
He covered up for her. Did you expect the reveal of the mother?
No, not at all, because I knew it wasn't Carlo. But then when Carlo was revealed not to be the killer and it was his mom, I wasn't like, oh, I was like, damn, that makes a lot of sense. How did I not pick up on that? So yeah, no, I'll be honest, man. This was the one film right to the very end. I was like, what's going on? I didn't Carlo. Who is it? And I like how you brought up Gianna. I never thought about that. And that's a good shout because she was definitely a candidate.
And then when you see that she stabbed, and I'm like, there went my whole fucking theory.
Yeah.
Like, it was just blown out of there. Let's talk about Argento's cinematography on here, because shot-wise, this is why we chose to do this genre, because the Italian genre is known for one thing, and it's the cinematography. Besides color, we also know that their color is their favorite thing.
Yeah.
However, the cinematography is completely different from other countries.
Bar none, brother.
What did you think? I thought it was beautiful. So what did you think?
It's a masterclass in like how to tell a story using camera work and color. And this film is a gorgeous, gorgeous film to look at. And the POV of the killer, the way that was done, mind you, this came a year after Black Christmas. So the Black Christmas influence was strong even in this movie.
Well, Peep and Tom gave
and
you
also Bay of Blood also had the POV first. I understand that, but it was popularized with Black Christmas.
But this one, I did. Thank you for bringing that up. I loved the killer shot.
I loved it, and it's funny. The actual killer, the gloves. Whenever you see hands, that's Dario Argento.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was great. One shot in particular, as far as POV is concerned, when they're in the theater and you see a static shot, you think it's a static shot of a camera, and you're following characters, but then all of a sudden the camera starts moving. All of a sudden it hits you. Wait a minute, we're in the killer's POV now. The killer was standing there the whole time, and we're seeing everything through the killer's eyes.
Yep.
That was great. Then when the killer goes into the bathroom and it starts, washing its hands, and that guy walks in, hey, you're not looking too good. You need help? Or whatever the guy said. And he was like, oh, let me get out of here. Then puts the gloves on, and the way the camera moves, it looks like this is before GoPro, so you would think the camera was mounted on this actor's head. And one shot in particular, when Marcus and Carlo was talking, each opposite end, right? This is where John Carpenter gets his anamorphic, widescreen habit. But you got that big statue in the middle, and Carlo and Marcus are small in stature on each end. Oh my god, what a gorgeous shot. One of countless many within this film.
Marcus was on his piano. He's doing a score, and he realizes the killer's in the house, and you see the single bead of sweat just go down. That moment when you're like, oh fuck, the killer's in the house right now. But as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I would have hit play, and I would have gotten up. He was smart on grabbing the statue, but I was like, you have the equipment right there to make it sound like you're playing piano and you can hide. I will say what it did show you, though, is that when he got up and he shut the door, and the killer didn't fight to get in, because she's not strong enough to knock down that door.
She says something to him through the door too,
you were safe this time.
Yeah.
You were safe this time, but I'm gonna get you next time. Because again, we're talking about an older woman here, and by older, I'd probably say she was maybe in her 60s, even though I'm in my 50s. So I'm like, but again, it showed that the killer wasn't like this supernatural one that could have knocked that door open. It basically, okay, motherfucker, you just locked me out. I can't get it. I'm gonna get you next time, though.
As a comic book fan, there is one character that this silhouette of this killer always reminded me of. Who was it?
Oh, you're gonna kill me. Well, there's Dr. Occult and Phantom Stranger.
This guy's just naming off names off the top of his head.
No, I am not.
Trench coat with a hat. You don't see her face at all.
The question?
Yeah, dude.
Question.
Look at the safe for door hat, the coat, and the face is always in the shadows. The one scene when she hits Amanda over the head with that object and she just falls, I'm like, holy shit, it's the question.
I didn't think about that. That's a good shout out.
Especially when, in the beginning, when Marcus sees her kill Helga, he runs up the stairs, goes into her apartment, looks out the window, and he sees the killer walking away with the trench coat, the fedora, hands in its pockets. The question.
That's a good shout out. It is true.
So my brother, there was another scene where the cinematography really stood out to me, and that's when it kept showing like all of the objects, just marbles, toys, all kind of knickknacks, and the camera just moving, weaving in and out around these objects, and you got that classic score just playing in the background. That scene there was no reason for it. It was just beautiful to look at. It ain't just the use of like the picture, right? The way the camera itself becomes a character within the film.
Now that you say that, the original cut of this movie is 120 minutes. It got edited down. I think they took out 22 minutes of it.
The script originally was over 400 pages, and
yeah.
And Dario Argento's father and brother had to tell him to scale that shit down.
Well, a lot of the scenes involve scenes like that. Gianna and Marcus's relationship, like that started forming. But there was a lot of scenes in there that Dario put in that got edited out. A lot of the artistic stuff that got taken out. I might look for that 120 minutes because supposedly they also cut out some gory kills in the movie.
I heard there was some. It was toned down a bit. I heard, yeah.
We have to talk about Goblin's score in this movie. We're so used to atmospheric music in horror movies. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little thrown off with the loudness of the music. And then I remembered, this is the 70s. So Wes Craven did the same thing with the music. Once I remembered that, fucking Goblin score just elevated the movie, because you actually, the parts that were like more like rock sounding would have been the atmospheric where it got a little bit more intense on you. So it worked really well once you realize where you were at the time. I don't know if you peeped this, and if you did not, go back and watch it. When Marcus is looking for the house, he starts driving around and you got the first two keys of John Carpenter's Halloween. Now, I'm not saying he ripped it off. When I heard the didn't, I'm like, oh my God. Goblin's music. It was like Shaft meets Wes Craven. I fucking loved it.
Yes, good shout. It's a lot of funk inspired.
It's funk. Oh no.
Like
that's what I'm saying. When Marcus is walking around, I got some Shaft, like the music you would get. You love Goblin's music?
Oh, bro, come on. I was a Goblin fan since Dawn of the Dead. The score they did for Dawn of the Dead is so memorable because of Goblin. I mean, come on. How can you not love Goblin? Back in that era, they did everything for Argento.
Which, obviously we'll bring up because they also did Suspiria.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I said, all his stuff for the most part.
Oh, yeah. The music took you back to the time of the movie that you were watching. Cinematography, score, dude, this fucking movie was fucking awesome. I'm glad we decided to go deep red. If you have not seen this movie, obviously we ruined it for you because you watched the episode and found out that Mama was the killer. Still watch it.
And it's funny, believe it or not.
It is.
That's a funny random scene. Like that one scene when Marcus is in Gianna's passenger side of her car.
The seat, I guess, there's some. It dropped down on him, and the visor kept dropping, and he kept talking to her and going like this. And then he's like, "I'm claustrophobic," and then when he said that,
I related to that so much.
Especially with the visor, I got it because your view is now narrowed, so it's freaking him out. On top of that, he's like down on the bottom.
There's like a little kid in there.
And what was it, a love bug that she was driving?
I haven't heard that in forever. A love bug. The thing with this film using Goblin is I'm not a fan of like rock music and horror films or movies in general, honestly, but especially horror. I think it dates the movie instantly. But the thing with Goblin, they're not taking like licensed music or having some cheap band. Goblin is a live band, not like an orchestra or nothing, but a live band providing the entire soundscape for this movie and all of the projects, and it just feels organic and alive. You know what I mean? It just gives it that kinetic energy that these films require to take it to that other level, man. That's what sets it apart from any other film. In Italian films, they resonate with these scores that implement live instrumentations and live music in general. The live strings,
you can hear
guitars,
the orchestra,
percussions. You can hear a live orchestra. The way it's done, bar none, beats anything that the United States, especially during that era, was putting out.
When the psychologist was getting killed, the music's all and every time
that tune
he kept
was
on
crazy,
giving him the California curve and smashing his teeth on things. you had this music, and it was like, ding! Like every time, like, and you're watching, and it's funny because as I'm watching the movie, two things happen in this movie. One of them you and I can relate to. Amanda accidentally kills a bird. I went, oh no.
One thing I want to say, and this is going to be my only critique of this film. Apparently, the scene with the lizard where it was skewed.
It's real.
They actually killed a real lizard for that. I'm like, come on, guys.
You can tell it looked real.
Guys, come on. You don't have to. I remember just prior to this, films were killing animals, but they were always fake and it looked real as fuck. You didn't have to do that. Come
Yeah,
on.
no.
Argento, I'm sorry, my friend. You could do better. Come on.
When the teeth thing kept happening and he kept
man.
smashing it, I'm like,
And you know how I feel about my teeth.
I
bro.
know. Me and you share that.
We
I'm
share
like,
the same phobias.
How
bro.
did Rip? Because I'm like, I'm like, like
Curb
like
Stomp
he-
from hell, bro.
Dude, it was like, but
He
the
kept doing
music,
it too.
because the music, it was like this
Had that
frenetic
energy too.
rock,
Yeah, it
and
was.
then
yeah.
it stopped for them to go dink every time the teeth hit something. Score, cinematography, this
the
movie.
cinematography added so much depth to this film. You can feel this world, like people live there. You want to go in there and be a part of that world because it feels so lively. It don't feel like a static shot, and it's all because of the camera work and the depth of field that it projects. Man, it's great. There's a line here that's pretty interesting where Marcos was saying women are weaker, gentler. That's foreshadowing the killer. And another thing which is funny, in the beginning, when Carlo was the baby, he was the kid, not baby, he was a kid that you saw his feet. It was made to look like a female to foreshadow that the killer in this movie was actually a female. So little things I picked up about that.
Because I thought Gianna was the killer.
And when you mentioned Gianna, I thought about that too. So.
What's really funny is that the shots that Dario put in are just random shit. It reminded me of Romero's shots in Dawn of the Dead, where these people were just talking. And if they were actors, they were just told, go.
It makes the world feel alive.
Real. Like if you were in this market and you would have saw, because I think one guy was calling out races, like the either horse races or something, and then the other guy started singing. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude, this is like Dawn of the Dead.
It's great, yeah.
Where it's just, you
all
actually
these side
catching,
characters
yes,
that
it's
stand
just,
out.
Yeah, it grounded the movie by giving you these random shots of what's going on in the world while this is happening that he's trying to figure out.
The last thing I'm going to say about this film was the head decapitation scene at the end when the killer was put to pasture. And I love the fact that they didn't have to show the head getting cut off.
You knew what happened.
The whole shot was framed with that chain just slowly just dropping down. You're following the camera, just following that chain, the blood on it, and the score accompanying that shot. And that's like pretty much the end of the film.
As the credits going, it's Marcus standing there still reacting to the mom.
Yeah,
You're getting his reaction in the blood. And you know what that made me think of? Pearl.
Yeah. Oh, nice shout. That's right, because that was
when she stayed at the end.
What we're looking at, the reflection.
You had this ending that just kept going and going.
Yeah.
So it's still Marcus. He kept reacting to it as the credits are going.
That's great.
And I thought about Pearl.
Good
I
shit,
thought
that's
about as Pearl's credits were going that she sat there, Mia doing that because she sat there doing that, and so did
Italian cinema is all about that lingering shot. They could just put the camera down, have the actor do what they gotta do. Nice talk, man. This is episode 1 of our Horror Italiano, son. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to this.
We got a lot of good films to talk about. What's the next video, Joe? What we got coming next month in Horror Italiano, son?
Demons. And I am looking forward to that one.
Another movie with a lot of rock in it. But
it works.
For some reason, it works.
It works. But again, you guys, you have to remember the times. We're talking about, like, we're literally doing 70s and maybe some 80s
This was 74, right? 75? What was this one?
75.
75. Yeah, Black Christmas was 74. Yeah, Babe Blood 71.
So guys, until next time, ciao. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to appreciate Italian cinema.